We're nearly 2 months into Trump's presidency, and while the administration is taking shape, the White House still doesn't have a full cabinet. Many more Senate-confirmed spots also need to be filled. And while the president may be taking his time filling some of those spots, hundreds of other hires have reportedly gone through without needing confirmation. And among them are loyalists, lobbyists, and others with ties to the president. ProPublica reporter Justin Elliott joins me now from New York. He co-wrote a piece looking into these new Trump administration hirees. Justin, great to see you. And we should mention these are called so-called beachhead appointments because they come in for what should be temporary work in the U.S. government. It happens with every administration, but they end up finding long-term work helping really be political appointees of each president. So what have you learned about Trump's so-called beachhead teams?
Sure. Well, the Trump administration is actually breaking some new ground here. President Obama back in 2009 did have some people like this, although they didn't call it a beachhead team at the time. But Trump has significantly expanded the number of people hired in this category where they're put into agencies like the Pentagon or the Department of Labor. But the Congress, the Senate, has not vetted these people. There aren't the public hearings and public airings of their backgrounds and views. So we got through public records requests the first list of about 400 plus names hired by the Trump administration, and we've tried to sort of lay out what we found. One of the most significant things was there's several dozen lobbyists now working at agencies they previously were lobbying for private clients, pharmaceutical industry, defense contractors, that kind of thing. The various sort of swamp dwellers that President Trump ran on vanquishing from Washington.
Well, let's put more of a spotlight on this because, as you say, they don't go through the Senate confirmation hearing when things like conflict of interests and other issues that could potentially be a problem would be raised. You essentially group these 400 into three categories: the Breitbart wing, the swamp denizens, as you mentioned, and campaign vets. So talk to me about the Breitbart wing. Who are they?
Sure. So we found several people on this list of members of the beachhead teams who are really, frankly, sort of fringy figures who wrote for websites like Breitbart. There was one hire at the Department of Labor who was a columnist at a sort of obscure website called WorldNet Daily, which is best known as one of the places on the internet that was pushing the conspiracy theory that Barack Obama was not a U.S. citizen, birtherism. This guy was a columnist for that website. Now he's in the government, or he was hired at the Department of Labor by the Trump administration. So there were several figures like that who, have not, in previous administrations, even Republican administrations, are not the type of people you usually see being hired. So that was a bit of a surprise. Then the second category, larger category, are longtime sort of Washington insider types. As I mentioned, there are literally dozens of people who were lobbyists in recent years. Just to give one quick example, a guy named Jeff Burr, who was hired in one of these positions at the Department of Labor. His job a few months ago was as the chief lobbyist for the construction industry trade association in Washington, which has all kinds of business before the Department of Labor, which regulates workplace safety and that kind of thing. So there's many examples of that sort of thing going on here.
And President Trump has always said, when pressed on why he's hiring people with experience in Washington, that those are the only people who are around. These are the only people who have the experience he needs to hire, just to mention one defense he has used in the past. But
Sure.
The Trump administration is going through somewhat of employment issues. There's a bit of a freeze on their cabinet going through Senate confirmations and being approved, but there also a slowdown on some of the lower level cabinet appointments being made. What is the knock-on effect of that, and why do you think there's this holdup?
I mean, it's a little bit of a mystery right now. I mean, President Trump himself said in an interview the other day that some of these positions that require Senate confirmation, he doesn't actually want to fill at all. They're not necessary, is what I think it was an interview on Fox Business. That had a lot of people scratching their heads because these are positions like deputy secretaries or assistant secretaries for different policy issues in federal agencies. And these are typically the people that you have executing your policy agenda. It raises the question of whether the members of these beachhead teams, whose names we don't even know in some cases, and the White House has been declining to release, are they the ones who are, executing the policy agenda of the administration? Are they just sort of keeping seats warm until other people come in? There's a lot unclear about it. Since our story was published, I've since heard from career employees in several federal agencies saying that it's actually just been chaos, that there's been high rates of turnover, sort of Trump campaign types were brought in and then left, and then another campaign, former campaign staffer was brought in. So I think there's a lot of questions across the federal government right now.
And in addition to that chaos you describe, which we're hearing from people inside the State Department, many agencies who expect to see funds being cut as part of the president's budget, they wonder then if these beachhead teams, these people who have been employed and certainly appear to be handpicked because of their experience on the campaign or their proximity to President Trump, would you suggest that they are in a way more powerful than they would be typically in previous administrations?
I would say it's a little bit early to come to a conclusion on that at this point. Right now, it seems like there may be sort of varying situations from agency to agency, but certainly these are positions of either current or potentially future influence. And so that's why we thought it was important to just publish the entire list of about 420 names we got, and we've invited people, including government employees, if anyone are watching, to look at it and email us at ProPublica if you see anyone on there who's of interest.
Well, hey, this is certainly eye-opening stuff. Folks should head to ProPublica.org and see what Justin Elliott is writing about, a reporter for the organization, joining us from New York. Justin, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.